An ugly win is still a win. Texas Tech beats Oklahoma State 64-54 on a Sunday matinee out in the 806. In today's video, we'll recap the game for the Red Raiders, how it seemed like Texas Tech just kind of took their foot off the gas, and what the Red Raiders need to improve upon before this very difficult stretch in the Big 12. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast, and my question for you guys today is this. Love to get interactive here on the channel. What is your biggest concern for Texas Tech men's basketball moving forward this season? I've got a couple that I think could qualify for this, and we'll discuss them throughout the video. But I want to hear from you guys, so go down to the pinned comment below and let me know your biggest concern. Is it defense? Is it physicality? Is it rebounding? Is it turnovers, shooting, whatever it may be? There's no wrong answers here. I just want to hear from you guys. What is your biggest concern for this Texas Tech men's basketball team moving forward this season? All right, let's jump into the stats because I think that's where everybody wants to go first and foremost, and I think it's the fair place to start. As you can see on your screen right now, the Red Raiders won 64-54, and they were led in scoring by Chance McMillan with 14, who kind of found his shot again in this one, which is a big thing for Texas Tech. Now, when I say found his shot again, he never really lost it, but he was in a good rhythm early, and that was something we haven't really seen from Chance McMillan so far, really, in Big 12 play. Elijah Hawkins had his worst shooting night as a Red Raider in the Big 12 and probably his worst game overall as a Red Raider. He had 3 points, 1 of 9 shooting, 0 for 6 from 3, just putrid in terms of shooting the basketball, and he wasn't efficient as he's been early on in conference play when it comes to assist to turnover ratio. Is he had 5 assists to 4 turnovers. Again, D5, it continues to struggle shooting, but there were times where I thought he was decent when it came to playmaking. But the big thing now for Texas Tech fans is they're going to have to watch to see if D5 is okay, as he yet again twisted his ankle and did not return in this game for Texas Tech. JT Toppin was pedestrian at best in this game. 8 points, 4 of 7 shooting, 1 rebound. Yeah, you read that correctly in terms of the starters. And then Kerwin Walton had 6 points in the first 4 minutes and really didn't do anything else after that. We go to just the home stats overall in this one. You had 1 scorer in double figures, the aforementioned Chance McMillan, who started. Your bench, I thought, was actually pretty damn good in this game. Were they perfect? By no means, but I thought your bench was the reason you won this basketball game overall. You had Kevin Overton go for 7. Nice. Christian Anderson, go for 9. Solid. And then Fetty, 8 points, 8 rebounds. Excuse me, he was the leading rebounder. I should have said leading rebounder. Chance McMillan was in the starting lineup. But Fetty went for 8 and 8 and 3 blocks. Again, were those guys, tremendous or anything? No, but I thought they came in and gave Texas Tech a boost at times when the starters really, really did look pedestrian in this basketball game. You look at it in terms of the second half, the stats on your screen right there. Texas Tech shot only 39% from the field and 11% from 3. And not to mention, they continued to shoot at a really low rate from the free throw line. You missed 9 free throws. This team is a lot better than that, right? And the thing is I get back on the screen here, and we'll talk about more metrics here in a little bit before I do get back on the screen. Points in the paint, 22 points off turnovers. That was a big thing. Texas Tech generated quite a bit of turnovers in this game. We'll go look at the Oklahoma State side real quick. They did produce 22 turnovers, did Texas Tech. Now, again, not all of them were because of the Red Raiders forcing them. There were some where just Oklahoma State, head-scratching type stuff. But overall, Texas Tech, I thought, played pretty damn good defense. The thing that concerned me is Texas Tech got up in the range of 12 to 14 points in this one, and then they just took their foot off the gas. I mean, Oklahoma State went on a 16-1 run, and it felt like the game never should have been that close, okay? Texas Tech was clearly the better team for a large duration of this basketball game, but they took their foot off the gas for a 6-minute stretch, and you simply cannot do that in the Big 12, even against the team in Oklahoma State that's likely to finish in the bottom 4. Okay, you just can't do that. And you saw Grant McCaslin Really getting into it, let's just say that, on the sideline, into the guys in terms of really letting them know, hey, you can't do this, right? And now a large part of this getting back into the game in terms of Oklahoma State was Texas Tech taking their foot off the gas, as I mentioned, but also part of it was Texas Tech just looked putrid on offense for about a 10-minute stretch in the second half. Again, 1 of 11 from 3 in the second half. There was little to no ball movement. They struggled against physical defending up at the top of the key specifically. And that was one thing that stood out to me in terms of Texas Tech is going to see more of that, right? Like Oklahoma State created a blueprint against this Texas Tech team that is still one of the best offenses in the country. We'll talk about it here in just a second in terms of Ken Pom and where he has them. But this Texas Tech team really struggled against physicality, not near the rim. I thought that they were okay near the rim. I mean, Oklahoma State has a big man that is built like a tank. Okay. And I thought JT Toppin and Federico were solid. Were they perfect? Absolutely not. But they were solid against the interior offense of Oklahoma State. But they absolutely struggled, did Texas Tech, on the offensive end against the physicality of the perimeter defenders of the Oklahoma State Cowboys. And again, Oklahoma State has now created a blueprint for teams against Texas Tech. It would not shock me at all if we see Jamie Dixon against TCU, the next game for the Red Raiders, do something very similar, right? In terms of really getting in to the Texas Tech primary ball handler, right? At the top of the key, right after they get past half court. Okay. That's really what stood out to me was they could not run their pick and roll offense. They were being hyper aggressive with the Cowboys with physicality through the pick and roll. And that really shocked Texas Tech, it looked like, at some points. And I think that that's something that the Red Raiders are going to have to identify as an issue that they've really done a good job so far this year in terms of some of the qualms that we've all had with their offense or defense. They've done a pretty good job of adjusting, right? Defensively, Texas Tech was really good in this game. Again, that JT and Fetty lineup proved to be one that really was efficient for the Red Raiders on the defensive side. Again, the big thing, though, for Texas Tech going into TCU now is the health of Darion Williams, D5, right? Like, again, he had twisted his ankle this time. He did not return. He was visibly, and I mean visibly, frustrated with it. Again, does he play against TCU? This is me speculating. You hope that he does, but really this is a long-term thing because if Texas Tech wants to reach their ceiling, you have to have D5 as close to 100% as possible and not have a lingering ankle injury, right? You play TCU and not trying to throw shade at TCU, this could be a look-ahead game where this is the trap game, in my opinion. A lot of people were thinking the Oklahoma State game was a trap game. I think TCU's a trap game because TCU is the last of these 5 in terms of this 5-game stretch Texas Tech is on before the month of February starts. And you play 3 of the best teams in the Big 12 in Houston, Baylor, and Arizona consecutively. And 2 of them are on the road at Houston to begin the month. You get a break at home against Baylor. I call it a break, but just a home game. And then you have to go out to Tucson to play the Wildcats, who are probably seeking revenge after how they lost by 16 points out in the 806. You have to have D5. You have to be ready mentally for this, and we will talk about it here on the channel in terms of previewing the TCU game. But overall, an ugly performance by Texas Tech, most notably on offense, and this team is going to go as their offense goes, right? I think it's actually a positive sign that Texas Tech won an ugly offensive game because, again, you think of how they've had to really carry their defense at times this year. Their defense carried them tonight against Oklahoma State, and that's something that really stood out to me. And this one is Texas Tech 1-54. Wasn't pretty, but what do the metrics say? Let's go ahead and look at Ken Pom real quick in this one. As you can see on your screen, Texas Tech is ranked as the 11th best team in the country. I wholeheartedly expect them, by the time you hear this, to be in the AP top 25. It really doesn't matter too much. The thing that matters to me is you look at that stat right there in terms of their offensive rating and their defensive rating. Why is that important? Texas Tech now is in the company of 12 teams in America right now. A lot can change, obviously. There's no doubting that. But since 2001, 95.9% of the national champions in college basketball have had a top 20 offense, while 90.9% have had a top 35 defense. the teams that have both a top 22 offense and top 35 defense right now, as you're hearing this is Monday, January 27th, are as followed. It's Duke, Auburn, Houston, Iowa State, Florida, Purdue, your Red Raiders, the Michigan Wolverines, the aforementioned Arizona Wildcats, Mississippi State, Maryland, and Michigan State. If the season we're in today, and obviously it isn't, there's still plenty of basketball remaining, one of those 12 teams historically would most likely win the NCAA tournament. Texas Tech is in that discussion right now, and as you can see right there on your screen, they are ranked as the 11th best team in the country, according to Ken Palm and his metrics, and pretty damn close to a top 10 team, as the Fighting Illini are just 0.17 points ahead. Again, this Texas Tech team is really good. Do they have flaws? Yes, every team in America does. But the biggest thing for Texas Tech right now is getting healthy, and most importantly, getting D5 healthy and back on track, as he has struggled recently. But again, an ugly win is still a win, and the Red Raiders improve in the Big 12 to 6-2 overall, ahead of their matchup against the TCU Horned Frogs out in the 806, scheduled for Wednesday, January 29th. All right, I am RC Maxfield, reminding you, if you want 100% free content surrounding your Texas Tech football squad and everything on the hardwood for your Red Raider men's basketball team, it's super simple. Just join the largest group of Texas Tech fans here on YouTube by following these 3 steps. Like the video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell to join the Back to 12 squad today.